So today is where we get to see another side of our CSC 241 students. Today is the 22nd, Friday of 22nd of September. And we're going to laugh down the barrel of tropical cannon as potential hurricane rolls west in our direction. Not that we want to tempt the fates. But I've posted your first assignment for Module 2. And by the way, in the next few days, if you have not yet reconciled your mistakes on the Module 1 first attempt of the assessment, or you haven't completed your solution, full disclaimer, I had to file progress reports on all students. I just thought I would cover this, and yes, we're recording and it's going to go out on YouTube. University of the Virgin Islands has committed considerable resources to assist students as they manage their personal and professional challenges, and they have to learn new ways of balancing their priorities in life as a full-time student. And studies have shown that if we stand around and watch, there are more train wrecks on a personal level. But one of the proven metrics in success for students is that there's early assessment and early notification of things that come up. The university requires all faculty to pretty much post a progress report. Your progress report is based on partial credit that you've already submitted. Not everything has been scored yet, but everything will be scored before the end of this month, or I don't get to eat lunch or have a date with my wife. That's my personal commitment to you. Now, in all seriousness, you want to be able to, at the end of September, before we get into midterms, know exactly where you stand in the course, and that's something we're going to do this year. Now, so be sure that you go back, be sure you finish the solution in Module 1. If you have not completed the solution in Module 1, very soon you're going to have a growing deficit that becomes like a snowball that turns into a boulder, that turns into an avalanche, that crushes you by the time we get to Thanksgiving. And if you get a little blurb or an email message from someone out of the Center for Student Success at the University of the Virgin Islands, I want you to know that that's just part of the progress reports for all students. And if I noted that there were low scores or missing assignments, in your case, I was just looking at the screen, and all you got to do is do the assignments and submit the stuff, right? So that's that. I don't want to get calls from people going, you ratted me out. You ratted me out. What is that? I got people calling my house, giving me all kinds of grief. I'm like, yeah, I'm supposed to file a progress report on all students. And you remember when we mentioned for 3 weeks in a row, there was a simple assignment to take a picture and submit it? Yeah, that would be you, right? So that's going to be like an interesting conversation that we're going to have. But ultimately, every year I have that conversation with people. So I just want to provide some context. And in case you're not joining us today live, but you see the recording, I'm open to those discussions and reviews, as I state in the syllabus. You know, anytime you have a concern, I don't care what it's about, reach out. Don't get upset. It could be that we've posted new credit and there was a resubmission. Oh, and the retake was a higher score, and now your average is 2 letter grades higher, right? So you feel better about it. I feel better about it. This is part of the natural grist in the mill. When you're doing mastery learning, we want you to know some things really well. We don't want you to know the whole book. So if you're reading the textbook and it's freaking you out, or you're looking at those truth tables and it's freaking you out, rejoice. Because today, a different part of your brain is going to be tapped. The creative side, the graphic side, the fun side that you did when you had crayons as a kid, and you could color outside the lines, and you could just enjoy yourself and nobody judged, right? So that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna create something, but you're gonna do it on paper first before we take it into the digital realm. More specifically, this assignment. Can everybody see the screen? Let's review the assignment. And then we're gonna do this together. And then I'm gonna give you the rest of the period to do it independently. And then at the end of the period, if you want to, you can take a picture of it, your creation, and you can email it to me and you can say, how does this look? And then if I say, oh yeah, this is good. Oh, but put the line or the stick here or make the connection there, right? Then what happens is that you get to go back, redraw it, make it pretty, submit it. Because Monday, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, on Monday, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what does this do? 10 a.m. Monday. Would you care to guess why it's due 10 a.m. Monday? Anyone?
We're going over in class one.
Oh, we're gonna let everybody see your creation. Now, I'm gonna take the name off. So when you submit, you're not gonna put your name on the drawing. You're not gonna put your name on the drawing, and I'm gonna have all these images, and I'm gonna pull them up, and we're going to review those creations. We're gonna do it again in the next module when we get more complicated. What we wanna do is share and explore how cool it is when people think outside the box. And right now, you're gonna take 2 Legos, just 2 Legos, and you're gonna create your own beautiful thing out of 2 Legos. And then next round, you're gonna create 3 and 4 Legos. And then when you do the truth table for that, you're gonna look at it and go, oh my gosh, look at this thing. And the cool part is that when you take it to the design simulation environment and it actually works, you're gonna go, oh, I just designed my own digital component. And then we flip that into, now let's design your own memory chip. And I'm not making this up because there are alumni, seniors, who are currently present in this classroom physically. And can I get an amen from the choir?
Amen.
Am I making this up or not?
No.
Not making it up. I'm making it up. Okay. So let's walk through the criteria together so you understand what you're doing. And then I am going to tell you one thing you cannot do. No, sir. You cannot do. No, sir. Do not submit a diagram that the instructor has done in class as a demonstration. That's called cheating. It won't end well. Every year. Every year. I don't know what it is. I'm glad this is a Friday because we're letting our hair down. Every year. Somebody leaves the class early, or they're multitasking. They're not hearing these words right now, or they watched the video after the fact because they weren't in class and they just didn't hear it because again, they're multitasking, right? Or listening to it in the car, whatever, and they missed it. And then they're in a hurry, and then they're rushed, and then the deadline's here, and what do? They watch the video, and then they snip the screen on my video, and I'm looking at my own creation. Now, I want to tell you this for a fact. When it comes to paternal instincts and fatherhood, when I'm looking at my own child, I know it's my child. So I'm just saying, if you pass it off as your child, my little baby's gonna go, Pops, Pops. My little baby's gonna bark at me and go, Pops. If you try to incorporate my little baby in a herd of other little babies later on, because you like the look of my baby and you duplicate it and you infuse it and you splice it into another little baby's and try to make it your creation, my little baby's gonna go, Pops, it's me, Pops. Let me out. I'm trapped. Everybody get what I'm saying? Trying to be comical about this. You know. Never fails. I end up posting a 0. I'm like, oh, let me do it over again. I'm like, no. Some things you can't undo, but what you can do are these other things. And if you ever mess with my baby again, I'll turn you to the poster child for the Dean of Student Affairs and now how not to cheat and cut corners when you shoulda, woulda, coulda known better. Okay, just keeping it real. Every year, I swear to you, every year it happens. I don't know why. So the cool part is we get to explore all sorts of creative stuff. And then the other part is, oh my gosh, what happened? Now, I showed you on the screen. Now, I don't care if you draw it your own way. I don't. I don't care if you use crayon and you put it on the back of a paper bag you got from the grocery store and you claim it's yours. I'm going to show you a picture right now of my creation that I showed you. And if I see this in any form or fashion with any media, that's where things will get interesting. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just post it as a separate thing. I'll put a little link in there that says, you must do your own thing. So there's something else though too. It says, you have witnessed the creation of a basic compound logic gate, the combination of two different components. What we're talking about is a little drawing I did. And then later, what we're going to do is take the HDL on Monday. And on Monday, we're going to build the darn thing in front of your very eyes, right? After we do the truth table together, we come up with the canonicals and so on. You're also going to get a chance to practice the truth tables. And what I would advise that you do is that in the templates, everybody see the templates? Can somebody unmute your microphones? Everybody sees the templates?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could see it.
Okay, when you do this, what you're going to see is this. And at some point, come on now. Where are you? There we are. Here's Word. I just hope my barky little monster here in the system tray doesn't bite me before our demo is done. Okay, everybody sees that, right? Now, every year, the other thing that happens is that some students, meaning well, a well-meaning student says, Professor Kentop, these are great templates, but why don't you fill it out for us? I'm like, oh, no. We demonstrated it in class. When you use my templates, I want you to get in the habit of doing what with it? What goes in this column all the way down? 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. What goes in this column? Half of them 0, half of them 1. What about these? 2 zeros, 2 ones, 2 zeros. Why do I want you to do that? The more you do that, the more the whole thing is going to sink in. And I will know by Halloween who's been doing it and who hasn't. Because it'll be so dang obvious. It's like somebody will be looking at that table and they'll go, yeah, this is, and this is kind of like Halloween preview, right? This is my 3 logic gates creation. You're like, what am I looking at here? And if you haven't been doing it, you're going to try to pass it off like your Halloween costume, and it ain't going to work. But by Halloween, if you practice these things, what I want you to do between now and Monday, in addition to drawing this, is I want you to download each of these templates. And I want you to practice substituting the inputs for letters like LMN or XYZ or ABC, ba 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 ba. And then I want you to take those letters and I want you to mix them up. Put plus signs between them, put dots between them, put bars over them, do all sorts of things, and then put that in the output column right here, like you're building a Boolean function, a complex Boolean function, or a compound logic gate. That's what I want you to do. I want you to pretend and mimic what I did in our last class. And you'll find that when you do it, it's like you're trying to swim by doing the same thing the instructor was doing in the water when they were swimming, and suddenly you're swimming. Trust me. Okay? Trust the process. It'll click when nothing else does. Any questions about the expectation with respect to the use of the templates? You're going to have to turn in a truth table later on. And after you practice this, I'm going to give you some simple exercises like, okay, show me the truth table for an OR that has 4 inputs. Give me a truth table for an AND that has 5 inputs, right? Give me a truth table that has a X and Y, right? And so you're like, okay, the training wheel just came off, but I'm not rolling that fast. And that's how we build from here, okay? Now, back to the drawing assignment. And then I'm going to I'm gonna put my version of the drawing assignment down. Right here, right there. Oops, no, here, back. There we are, up, there, and there. And now, all right, now we're home. Okay, so you are going to, in preparation for our HDL workshop, that's actually going to be tweaked so it says Monday. Use the time we would otherwise spend in class today to draw your own unique compound logic gate by following the examples shown in class to create your own implementation diagram. The following criteria must be met and are worth 1/2 point each. I'm realizing now that this is the criteria 1, criteria 2. Hold on just a second. Yeah, my bad. Okay. Here. Oops. And here. And this. And that. There we go. My bad. Indentation. What a bear. Okay. You must use 2 different basic components, and, or, and not. Now, this isn't difficult. You can use and with or. You can use and with not. You can use or with not. But you cannot use or with or, and with and not with not. Every year, every year, every year. Okay? All right, that's the first. Everybody, does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, remember when we talked about how to draw the things and we called out how rounded one end was and how curved one was, and then there was another one that's like a triangle point. We went to all that trouble to call it out. Does anybody remember that? Anyone? Okay, so when you're drawing, what you're doing is making sure that those drawings reflect those shapes, right? Because if I have to guess, let's just put it this way. If I have to guess what I'm looking at, you didn't draw it right. So take the time to just freehand it, right? Oh, and if you want to, every year, a student asks, hey, I can go out on XYZ website and there's a great program that lets me draw these logic gates and they have pre-built shapes. Can I do that pretty please? Can I? And you know what my answer is? Yeah, you can. If that's the palette you want to use, that's fine, okay? Just don't use the other features where you're cheating, because sometimes those software packages let you stitch those little logic gates together and then you push a button and then all of a sudden the truth table and solution is done for you, except that it's buggy and it makes mistakes, and then when you try to do it on the exam, it won't work, and then you're pissed off and you want to know why you didn't get that right, and then I find out that you were cheating the whole time. If you do it manually, then you understand the whole process, you understand the internals, and you're able to build digital components. If you use tools to do it for you, you won't learn anything. Or not as much, definitely not as much. Any questions? We have built-in chips. Your HDL environment uses built-in and, built-in or, and built-in not. There is a built-in NOR or a built-in NAND, but you cannot use a not with an and or a not with an or. So when I said before that you can use an and with an or what you can't do is use a not where it flips the output of a single input. So what I showed you in class was the not that was applied to a single input. You can use, I'm gonna alter this criteria. You can create a NOR or a NAND where the output is flipped, but no inputs are flipped, okay? That's what we showed in class. So you can do the reverse of that. The diagram must be legible, neat, including correct shapes with labeled inputs and outputs. And at least one of the connections must show an input that feeds into another input and must be labeled W1. I need to explain that a minute. I'll show you in just a second. Okay. An extension of this deadline is not possible. We will review each submission anonymously in class on Monday. Again, not Wednesday, Monday. You may not copy the same example shown in class, that of a not and. Okay, so I'm doing a different example this time. And that's because sometimes people cheat by looking up the stuff from last year in YouTube, because it's in a YouTube channel. So what we demonstrated in class was a not and. It was a not combined with an and it was lower input. In fact, what I'm going to do here is pull this up now. I'm going to join the class, and then I'm going to turn on my camera on the phone, and I'm going to show you that thing up close, okay? So, zoom.us. Are there any questions, comments, observations based on what we have shared? Oh, I'll tell you what I gotta do. There we go. I don't want the camera. Oh, yep. That's me. And I'm gonna stop sharing and then I'll do it on here. I should be able to share my video. Oh, that's, ooh. Does this camera make me look fat? Don't answer that. Seriously? There we go. Can everybody see?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see that image.
But I'm not sharing my screen. I gotta share it.
No, I think we can go to see it.
You can see it?
Yeah.
But that's bigger, isn't it? Isn't that nicer?
Yeah, that's the whole screen.
Okay. So what I want to do is talk through each of the points, and then I'm going to edit the assignment so that it reflects this year's example. Every year I change it up. All right. This is a not and. That's because we have a not here and we have an and there. What you don't see is that oftentimes when you draw this kind of stuff, you cinch up the front of the not so that it fits right into the lower input or the upper input. In this case, what we have is what's called the differential application of a not. Now, don't get hung up on those words. Those are $64,000 words. Not can be applied to the inputs on the left side, or they can be applied to the output universally. Put another way, you can take a not and you can put it on the front of this, and no matter what the and does, it's reversed. All the outputs from the and are reversed because the not applies to all of the outputs. That's appropriate. You can do that for this assignment. What you can't do is have an and, then use two other letters and then put the not right here like I've done. Now, I'm saying you can't do exactly as I have done. So what could you do? You could have an or instead of an and, then you're fine. You could have the not applied to the top input and change the letters, and then you're done. But when you draw this, one of the criteria is you need to see a wire. It's called W1, a wire. If we explode this drawing, what we have is a not and then coming out of the front of the knot is another wire. So these lines are actually physical copper wires. These are electronic components, right? You've seen wires coming out of electronic components. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? So how do we save materials? Oh, do we use really long wires or short wires? Short wires, makes sense, right? Now, if you're trying to understand the behavior of this thing, it's actually better when you first start, when you're using your training wheels, so to speak, is that you move this triangle a little further back so that there's a distinct line in front of the triangle that runs into the bottom input of this and. And then underneath, there's a label called W1. That's what I would do here. In fact, I'm going to do that very thing. I'm going to redraw this. I'm going to hit the pause button on our recording. I'm going to redraw this to show you the W1, and then I'll pick up the camera again, okay? Now, what should you do? You should start getting a piece of paper or going out and looking at diagrams for logic gates if you want to use something graphical. Just use a drawing app or a drawing utility. Don't go out and find a logic gate solution application that's gonna, because depending on what we do in the class, it might not work. And it'll be obvious that you'll be arguing why it's supposed to work and it doesn't. All right, enough said. All right, what I'm gonna do is stop sharing. I'm gonna go ahead and draw this little thing a little differently. And what I want you to do is to start drawing yours. So as I pause for a moment on the recording, I want you to start. If you don't, you can open up. Some people do this. They open up Paint, and you can draw. Let me share my screen again. You can draw in Paint, and then there are shapes in Paint. And when you look at the shapes, there's like, you can start, there's a triangle, right? So you can sometimes, well, and if you're in PowerPoint, you can rotate the shapes, or they have different shapes. You can use this kind of stuff if you want to do it that way. I would, personally, I'd just get a stylus, or I'd get a sheet of paper and then take a picture of it. That's what I would do. That's, all right, so, did I pause recording? Pause recording. All right, everybody stand by. So what I'm going to do now is draw the same compound logic gate. And as I draw the compound logic gate, what I'm going to do is demonstrate how you account for this. So I'm going to do N and O, right? So there's my eraser, I think. Yep, there I am again. So here's my top wire and my bottom wire. Then I have a knot. Okay, and this was N and O, right? Okay, obviously I need to get up to speed here. Some of you are very, there's O, and then I have this, and I have this, and then I have this, and I do something like this. Nice and round. I'm going to label this out. This is N, this is O, and this is W1. Now that W, well, that W, I'm going to asterisk that W, because those little letters and numbers, W1, W2, W3, W4, those are things that come back to bite you. And I'm of a thought that you want to watch out for your asterisks. You want to cover your asterisks, right? You want to intentionally label any wires that are coming out of So the output of one logic gate becomes a wire that goes into the input of the next logic gate. This is a single input. O is a single input for not. Let me say that again. O is not an input for the AND. O is an input for the not. And it's the output of the not that we're going to label a little differently, because we have to be able to distinguish between this input here and the W1. When we're doing our truth tables, this is where people get tangled. Okay? So that's something that you'll see them when they're drawn like I did. You'll see them cinched up where the triangle goes right into here, you know, and that's because, and why is that also a practice in industry? Well, you're using less wire, you're using less copper. Okay. Any questions before we close for the day? I'd kind of like to save. Kind of like to save this. Is there an undo button on here? I could probably do undo, right?
Yeah.
Undo, 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 undo,
It's just
undo.
gonna undo every direct process.
I have to keep doing it
Yeah.
until that. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to noodle with this some more. Okay, I'm gonna take a screenshot of that just because I think it would be good.
So since we need to have two logic gates.
Now, yes. Go ahead.
Would we label the output for the AND W2 if it's hooked up to another logic gate?
That's an insightful question. So the question was, everybody can still see my screen, yes? So the question was, if this out is going into another input of another logic gate, would I label this W2? And the answer is yes. See, the reason you want to start with W1 here is if there's an out that goes into another logic gate here, like a daisy chain, then this is W2. The last one in the line is labeled out. But if this in turn goes into the input of another logic gate, then instead of labeling it out, you would label it W2, W3, W4, and so on. Okay? Great question. Absolutely stunning question. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and cut this, and then do this, and then this. I will post this along with my other picture and say, okay, don't do what I did. You can't have a knot that goes in on this side. Now, you can put the knot on this side. So when you create yours, the knot's going to have a different effect altogether. If you put the knot here, it's only going to affect and flip what goes into the bottom input of this AND. But if you put the knot here instead, it's going to reverse all the output of
Are you
the
sharing my
AND.
screen?
Can I share my screen? Okay. Thank you. Was that Marilyn?
Yes.
Marilyn, you saved me again. So just send me an email saying, I keep catching your shares, or just say, no share. Put in the subject line, say no share. I will post additional credit, because you did that in the previous class. I think you saw that I wasn't sharing. You called it out. Thank you.
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. So the question was, if this out is being fed into another logic gate over here, does it have a different label? And the answer is yes. You would label this one would be W1, this one would be W2, okay? And you can, for your solution, for your drawing.
Excuse me, Professor, are you still not sharing? I'm not seeing anything but the drawing on the whiteboard.
Do you see my cursor moving?
No.
No,
You don't?
No,
It's still on the.
Oh, it's still on the whiteboard.
You're not sharing a screen, you're sharing a whiteboard specifically.
That's what it is.
now you're showing the class. There you are. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, again, Marilyn, send me that email. Thank you. So the question was asked, if this wire that comes out is fed instead into another logic gate, right? Oops, another logic gate. Oh, nuts. Okay, let's roll back this way.
Just click it on the button.
All right, I did. No, it's permanent. That's kind of goofy.
Make the thing here.
What I'll do is this again, and then I'll paste it again. There we go. Okay. What we were saying is you're going to label this one W2 if it feeds into another logic gate. The thing that you can do for your solution, you cannot do what I've done, where the not applies to the lower input of either an or an and. The other reason that you can't do that is because there are built-in logic gates. I think it's the NAND or the NOR that they already have built. So when you're trying to build your own, you don't want to use something they've created. You want to have your own creation. You can put the not in the front of this. So you can have the output going in, and then the not, and the W1 could be right here. And then coming out of the front of the not is the out. Does that make sense? Out of the front of the not comes the out. So you have the W1 here instead, then you have the triangle, then you have W1. So that's an appropriate adaptation. We only have 3 building blocks. We're going to take baby steps with the 3 building blocks. You want to think out loud about what I can do with these building blocks, but the real trick is what happens when you have more than 2 inputs. That's when it gets really sexy. The thing that I want to share with you though, before we get to those, that's like taking the training wheels off. We want to get comfortable in this realm where there's only 2 inputs. So that's the goal today. And on Monday, we're going to share your results. Again, when you turn in your drawing and submit your drawing for 2 points, you get a ½ point for each of those criteria. I'm going to update those criteria to reflect what we're talking about. You can do the same thing, and you could substitute an or instead of an and. You could put the not in front. You could, well, there's a whole variety of things you could do. But what you shouldn't turn in is this right here, okay? And I will say, this is the one drawing you cannot submit, regardless of how you do it. And because we did it in class. Any questions before we close? Okay, now we're gonna stop sharing. I gotta remember to change the share options when we're doing whiteboard. That's pretty cool stuff though. All right, let's stop recording.
Well, if you